Chicago's predominantly black communities are paying more for water pumped from Lake Michigan compared to white communities. A report from the Chicago Tribune compared median water bills between the communities. Researchers found black communities paid 20% more than white communities for the same amount of water. Of the 10 towns with the highest water rates, half of them were majority black. For example, people in the predominantly black community of Glenwood pay about $67 a month, but the white community of Willowbrook only pays $48. Chicago Heights, which is mixed race, pays $36 compared to $25 in Northbrook, a majority white community. Researchers say the division is also based on class. They found the lowest income communities paid nearly a third more for water than affluent ones. Community leaders tell the Tribune the higher rates pay for the significant amount of water lost through crack pipes and leaky hydrants. It's not clear what can be done to resolve this. Illinois doesn't regulate or set water rates. The Tribune reports 2 towns in the Chicago area are under investigation for water mismanagement and fraud. Quickly to our panel, this is, again, one of those things that people don't want to talk about when you think back to when black folks were denied housing. Mm-hmm. When we moved into areas that whites had moved out, but Jews had moved out, Italians had moved out, Poles had moved out, they jacked up the rents. And so black folks who were making less, who were poor, were paying 3 and 4 times more for the rent, which of course contributed to this wealth gap that we have. Here you have a case here where you're paying more for water, and if you got cracked pipes, maybe you want to deal with the cracked pipes and the leakage in the city. This also impacts us negatively when it comes to the economics.
And I agree, and shame on those Republicans who run the city and the state of Illinois and Chicago for setting up this system that allows this disparity in price of water thing. I think it's, you're right, it's horrible. It relates back to the GI Bill, how it was racially implemented. You talk about the Federal Home Administration, stuff like that. There's a long history, a legacy of this going on.
And I don't want to hear, well, not much we can do, Leah. No. How about figuring out why it's higher and then saying we're going to change it?
Right. So here's the crazy thing in all of this, right? We can go back to 1919 and look at the Chicago Commission on kind of the riots, right? And they find the exact same thing, right? That people in Chicago, low-income communities, black communities, are paying more, right, for the same goods in that other communities are paying for, right? That there are disparities in health, that living conditions, right? We could go trace this through, the Watts riot in the 1960s. We can look at the LA riots in 1992, and you find these same conditions over and over and over again. We see it in Flint, right? Nobody wants to talk about Flint anymore, but we see it in Flint. And so all of these commissions, all of these committees, people have laid out the blueprint on how to fix these issues. We haven't moved and really done anything to actually address these issues.
This is racism and classism at work. And classism that is something that is often overlooked in America because, let's be honest, racism gets all the headlines. But classism has been in play in this country since its founding. And of course, blacks and other minorities are the ones that usually are targeted and suffer from this classism. But also there are poor whites that catch the short end of the stick, that have no NAACP to run to, that suffer from these indignities and lack of services in their communities.
Call the community leaders in Chicago.
Right. Yeah, low-income white folks have the U.S. government as a support system for them. When we talk about race, we are talking about class. And if low-income people can't see themselves in a racial justice fight, then that's not on the responsibility of black folks.
Yeah. No, I didn't say it was on the responsibility of black folks. I was just highlighting that classism is at work here.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think there's not an escape of one or the other. And I think that's what, even our water is racist and classist at the same time.
Yes, water is racist. All right, y'all.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh, my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.